What's going on everyone, and welcome back to another video. My name is Noman and today's analysis video is going to be about the Serie-A game between Juventus and Inter Milan. So Juventus lined up in a 4-3-3 formation which mostly shifted to a 4-4-2 without possession, with Douglas Costa dropping in the defense without the ball. While Inter Milan on the other hand lined up in their usual 3-5-2 formation which mostly changed to a 5-3-2 without possession. So we all know that Maurizio Sarri is a big admirer of possession-based attacking football, and he always wants his team to build their play from the back. So in order to stop the build-up of Juventus, Antonio Conte decided to implement a man-oriented high press. So this is how the two teams were set up on the ground. Juventus 4-3-3 formation against Inter Milan's 3-5-2. Whenever Juventus tried to build their play from the back, Inter Milan tried to create a 1v1 position all over the ground by implementing a man-oriented high press. Front two on the two Juventus centre-backs, three midfielders on the three opposite midfielders, wing-backs on the full-backs, and the three centre-backs were up against the front three. Here we can see Inter Milan's man-oriented high press. Each player on the ground has the responsibility of covering one opposition player. Juventus at the start had a few issues to build their play from the back, but as the game progressed, they started using Inter Milan's man marking to their benefit. The full-backs of Juventus started dropping deep, and since the wingbacks were given the job of keeping a tight marking on the opposition fullbacks, so the Inter Milan wingbacks followed the fullbacks deep in Juventus half, while the Juventus midfielders started moving to the wide areas to pull the Inter Milan midfielders wide. Whenever the Inter Milan midfielders moved to the wide areas to cover the Juventus midfielders, they always left the spaces open in the midfield for one of the Juventus front three to drop deep and receive the ball from their defense. Ronaldo, Higuain and Douglas Costa often dropped in that big space to receive the ball and run at the Inter Milan defense. Once again, man-oriented high press from Inter Milan, but the interesting thing here is the position of the Juventus midfielders. Brozovic is covering Bentancur, while Ramsey and Matuidi have moved to the wide areas, and they have pulled the Inter Milan midfielders wide to open the gap centrally for Cuadrado to pick Ronaldo. Barella and Vecino were forced to move wide, and that opened the central passing lane for Cristiano Ronaldo to drop deep and receive the ball from Cuadrado. Ronaldo receives the ball and easily runs at the defense and was even able to take a shot at the goal. Once again, almost the exact replica of what they did a few minutes ago. Man-oriented high press from Inter Milan, Ramsey and Matuidi once again moved to the wide area, and they forced the Inter Milan midfielders to the wide areas to open the central passing lane for one of their front three to drop deep and receive the ball. This time Costa drops deep to receive the ball, and he immediately shifts the play to the other side, where Sandro was free to run in the space. Since the front three were easily able to drop in the space to receive the ball, so the next time whenever the Juventus front three dropped in the space, the Inter Milan centre-backs decided to follow them deep in Juventus half to ensure that they don't allow any free space to the front three to receive the pass. But whenever the Inter Milan centre-backs left their line to follow the front three, they left the spaces open behind the Inter Milan defense, which Juventus often tried to exploit by playing quick one-touch passes behind the line. Once again, Ronaldo drops deep to receive the ball from Alexandro, but this time the Inter centre-backs are following the Juventus front line and are trying to keep a tight marking. Inter Milan decided to keep a tight marking on the front three, but that has opened the spaces behind the line for Juventus to exploit. Ronaldo to Higuain, and Higuain's one-touch pass to Ronaldo. Quick one-touch passing, and Higuain is now free to exploit the space. Both the Inter Milan centre-backs are taken out, and Higuain is now free to exploit the space behind the defensive line. Inter Milan, on the other hand, also at times tried to build their play from the back, but with a few changes. Inter Milan often tried to invite Juventus to move up to force the high press. Whenever the Juventus players decided to move up, Inter Milan often tried to pick one of their front two who would hold the ball against the Juventus centre-backs and would lay it off in the path of one of their midfielders. And whenever the midfielders were able to win the second ball ahead of the Juventus midfielders, Inter Milan always had the chance to create a 2v2 position on the break. Inter Milan are trying to invite Juventus to move up to open the space in the midfield for Lukaku to drop deep and win the first ball against the Juventus centre-backs. Lukaku wins the first ball, and Brozovic easily wins the second ball. With possession, Barella and Vecino were playing in between the lines, and whenever the Inter Milan wingbacks moved up, it forced the Juventus fullbacks to step out and cover the wingbacks. Whenever the Juventus fullbacks stepped out, they left the gaps open in the half spaces for Barella and Vecino to exploit. And since the two Juventus centre-backs were already busy covering Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez, so they also couldn't step out to cover the Inter midfielders. Ashley Young is forcing Cuadrado to step out and opens the space for the one of Barella. Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez are keeping the centre-backs busy, and Barella gets a free run in the half space. Here again, Cuadrado steps out to cover Ashley Young, and Barella immediately makes the run in the half space. But as the game progressed, the Juventus midfielders started tracking the runs of Inter Milan's midfielders to ensure that they don't get any free space. But this created another big issue for Juventus. Whenever the Juventus midfielders dropped in the defense, it left Brozovic in lots of space in front of the Juventus defense to test his luck from outside the box. Cuadrado once again steps out to cover Ashley Young, but this time Ramsey is closely covering Barella's run. Same thing on the other side. Alexandro steps out to cover Candreva, and Matuidi immediately drops in the defense to cover the run of Vecino. But this has left a big space open right in front of the Juventus defense for Brozovic to test his luck from outside the box. Inter Milan took 13 shots in this game, and 9 out of the total 13 were taken from outside the box. Juventus scored 2 goals in the second half and took the game away from Inter Milan. With 2 back-to-back defeats, Inter Milan are now 6 points behind the league leaders Juventus. Juventus are now sitting at the number 1 position, but they are still facing a tough competition from Lazio, who are just 1 point behind Juventus. Thank you so much guys for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.